How many of you know about placebo? Placebo. 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 Have you heard about this term before? Yes, Alok?
Sir, it's an effect in which it is stated that if we believe something to be good, then it would be good for us, and vice versa.
Okay. Rutaj? Rutaj? Rohit?
Sir, not exactly, sir, but in medical condition, it is like a medical dose in which neither doctor nor patient know exactly what the dose is when it is.
Okay. Anyone have any idea about uh, the use of this term in experimental setup, in research setup? Akash?
Sir, maybe placebo is this kind of medicine which is not a medicine, like giving if somebody feeling fever, I give him I give him a tablet, but there is no substance there like chemical thing there. Only it's a sugar thing like
Mhm.
that. But if he take this medicine, he will think that I take that and it will help for my body. But there is no nothing there. But it's
Does it work?
totally affect mentally, and
Uh,
he totally cured himself by thinking that there is something in this tablet.
So
It's
it
like,
works. It works.
sir, in our country, I saw various kind of people who goes to uh, um, some baba and says, "Sir, give me when they caught fever, the baba give them water. Can you compare that? It's also like a placebo, I think. So there
Okay.
is nothing in this water, but when they eat that, they become good.
Yeah. So that's very interesting to know about placebo. And let us know what psychologists say about placebo. Okay. And if there is any scope to do more research on placebo, then and if it
ना
is
पढ़ा है क्या?
and if it is effective, we can uh, do even more research on this.
प्यास लग रही है.
I'm going to show you a video on placebo.
Sir is going to show us a video का तो. तो वही तो हम लोग बोलते हैं सर हमारे को लिंक भेज दो, देन ही इज लाइक हाँ तुम लोग को लिंक भेजूंगा, मेरे को पता है कितने लोग देखोगे कितने लोग नहीं. ठीक ठाक मतलब थोड़ा थोड़ा समझ में आ जाता है, लेकिन सर का इंटरनेट काफी ज्यादा टट्टी है.
Kushal, Whether my screen is visible?
Yes, it's visible, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Despite continual improvements in medicine, one of the most fascinating aspects of healing remains something we've been aware of for centuries: the placebo effect. Today, I want to talk about what we know currently about the placebo effect and examine what we can do to more effectively leverage it to our advantage. The placebo effect demonstrates the power, the sometimes surprising power of our mindsets, our thoughts, our beliefs, our expectations to produce meaningful changes in the body. Simply taking a sugar pill under the impression that it's a real medication can not just improve your pain and your anxiety and depression, but also reduce your blood pressure, calm your asthma, boost your immune system. Placebo surgeries. Yes, you heard me right. Surgeries in which the doctor puts patients under anesthesia, cuts them open, and sutures them back up again without doing anything can get people back on their feet again. And placebos don't always take the form of sugar pills or faux procedures, and their effects aren't always so rosy. Placebo poison ivy can cause real rashes. The mere fear of side effects makes those effects more likely. And as the major threats to our health have changed from infectious diseases to chronic disease, and we increasingly look to changes in our behaviors like exercise, diet, and stress for solutions, what we're finding is that the benefits of those behaviors too depend on our beliefs. For example, in a study that we ran while I was at Yale, we gave people the exact same milkshake, but with two different labels. What we found is that when people believed they were consuming an indulgent, high calorie milkshake, their bodies responded as if they had consumed more calories. Over the last 30 years, placebo experts and neuropsychologists have shown that placebos don't just work by making us say we feel better. They produce a whole host of specific neurobiological effects. I could spend all day talking to you about placebo effects. But while those studies are provocative, intriguing, the more useful question is not, is there a placebo effect? But what can we do as patients, as providers, to consciously, deliberately harness that effect to our advantage? You know, the shocking truth is, despite being aware of the placebo effect for centuries, we know relatively little about what it actually is. And we know even less about what we could do to produce it on demand. There's a good reason for this gap in our knowledge. When we develop new medications and new treatments, we spend enormous amounts of money, of time, of effort trying to outperform the placebo effect. We're stuck in an outdated model. In this model, we compare a new treatment to the placebo effect. They're set up in competition. There's only two possible outcomes for the placebo here. One, if the drug outperforms the placebo, which, by the way, it's very difficult to do. Only about 10% of new drugs pass this test. But if it does, the placebo effect is immediately deemed irrelevant. We start marketing the drug and prescribing the drug, and we forget about any benefit that could have occurred from just a placebo. On the other hand, if the drug or new treatment does not outperform a placebo, then the placebo is the villain. Our hopes for the new drug are dashed, and millions of dollars go down the drain. Actually, it's on the order of billions of dollars go down the drain to the tune of a familiar refrain. It was nothing more than just a placebo effect. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a good, rigorous standard for testing the efficacy of new medications. But what this model obscures, what we so often forget, is that in the practice of medicine, the reality of medicine, the placebo effect does not disappear, it remains actively involved. When we realize this, the whole meaning of the placebo effect changes. It's no longer some irrelevant or nuisance response to a sugar pill, but the scaffolding, the support system on which the total effect of the treatment is placed. And when we realize this, we realize we need new models, models that just don't compare, that don't just compare against the placebo, but models that seek to unpack, understand its underlying components. So let's take a trip to the doctor's office, and I'll tell you about a study where we try to do just that. In this study, we have a doctor give patients a histamine skin prick test. Histamine produces an allergic reaction, a rash on the forearm, that we can measure the size of that reaction as it changes over time. 6 minutes after giving them the prick of histamine, the doctor applies a placebo cream, an inert cream. For half of the participants, the doctor has some good news. She says, this is an antihistamine cream. It's going to make your rash and irritation go away. For the other half, she has some not so good news. She says, this is a histamine agonist. It's going to make your rash and irritation worse. So what did we find? Well, the results were quite simple. When the doctor said the cream would make the rash worse, the rash was actually worse. This was 10 minutes after applying the cream. When she said the cream would make the rash better, the rash was better. Now, this alone is interesting because it suggests that the physiological responses to the histamine depended on the beliefs that the patient had about the cream. In other words, our mindsets about treatments, mindsets like this will work or this is risky, are not irrelevant. They matter in shaping treatment outcomes. But where do those mindsets come from? How are they informed? Now, obviously, the words of the doctor here were a critical factor, but there could be other factors, like what the doctor did or what the person thought of the doctor. In psychology, we call this the social context. And countless studies show that the social context has a tremendous influence on our behavior. But can the social context get under the skin? To test this, we changed the social context. In one scenario, we amped up the warmth of the physician. She looked the patient in the eye. She connected with them on a personal level. She didn't just ask date of birth or location of birth. She asked, where were you born? What was it like growing up in Ohio? In addition, we had cues in the environment that signaled her competence. Her badge read fellow at the Stanford Allergy Center. The room was pristine, and she completed the procedure with precision. So why warmth and competence, you might ask? Well, social psychologists have shown that these are the two fundamental qualities that we judge people on. Anytime we meet somebody new, we're immediately judging them, for better or worse. First, we want to know, do they have good intentions to me or bad? Are they warm? But second, we want to know, do they have the ability to enact those intentions? Are they competent? So to examine the effect of these two fundamental pillars of social interaction, we strip those qualities away. In this scenario, the doctor's not very warm at all. In fact, she's staring at the computer screen. Date of birth, location of birth, next question. We also raised some questions about her competence. Her badge reads student doctor. Remember, it's all about perception. Her badge reads student doctor. The desk is messy. And when she puts the blood pressure cuff on, she fumbles. So, what did we find? Well, what we found was that the warm and competent doctor, the one who connected with the patient, what she said about the cream was made the effect even stronger. And the healing effects of her positive expectations that she set were even more powerful. But when the doctor was cold, bumbling, pays you no attention, what we found here was that what she said about the cream made no difference at all. So, what does this tell us? Well, remember those mindsets that I said matter? Mindsets like this treatment will work? Well, it turns out the effect of those mindsets hinges on the social context in which they're shaped. The social cues embedded in the warmth and the competence add depth, they add meaning to those mindsets, making them not just this treatment will work, but this treatment will work because I'm in good hands, because the doctor understands my unique and personal needs. So this brings us back to the original question, what is the placebo effect? Let's unpack it. Well, first, there's the effect that would occur if you did nothing at all. The body has a natural ability to heal itself with time, and that alone should not be discounted. But second, there's the effect of our mindsets, the effect of the lenses through which we're viewing and perceiving that treatment, to evoke, to create, to activate the healing properties in the body. And finally, there's the effect of the social context, the medical ritual, the bedside manner, the doctor's credentials, the branding of the drugs, the things that shape our mindsets, which in turn activate our body's natural healing abilities. When we realize this, we realize we can abandon our outdated notions of placebo effects as some mysterious or magical response to sugar pills and start reclaiming those effects for what they really are. The words we choose to use, the connections we choose to create. And we can start to ask more useful questions. Questions like, what is the best mindset to have when diagnosed with cancer or diabetes? How can we inform patients of risks or side effects without causing unnecessary suffering? And how can we create relationships, social contexts imbued with a sense of warmth and competence for people of all races and colors and genders and backgrounds? These are the questions that we're interested in my lab at Stanford because we believe that medicine has a real opportunity here. We're talking about simple, inexpensive interventions, changes in our words, in our actions that can produce objectively better health outcomes. My hope is that patients and providers in the healthcare system will join me in this journey and start taking these questions as seriously as we take the development of new medications. Because at the end of the day, three things are indisputable. The effects of the forces underlying placebo effects, they aren't irrelevant. They are alive and at play in every single medical encounter for better or for worse. Second, the effects of these forces, the effects of our mindset in the social context, they're not mysterious or magical. They're understandable. They can be measured, categorized, quantified. And third, the effects of these forces, they are not adversaries. They're allies, critical building blocks in a hierarchy of healing that can occur. You know, we spent 13 years and $3 billion mapping the human genome. The early results have promised that the future of medicine will be more personalized and more optimized than ever before. It's been worth every hour and every dollar. But we've also left some really important stones unturned. An improved understanding of these forces, the social context, the mindset of the patient, the body's natural ability to heal, these forces can be an extraordinary resource for health and for healing, just as soon as our own minds are open to that possibility. Thank you.
Hope you could get some insight on what placebo is and what are the possibilities in the research with placebo. So we'll have a couple of questions and then we'll end the class for today. Rahul.
Sir, it's not exactly a question. I remember reading somewhere that when pet owners feed their pets placebo medicines, it still works. How
Yes.
do animals understand that they're being treated?
You are asking that whether animals are also given placebo or animals' presence is a placebo for human beings. What's the question?
When animals are given placebo, they show positive reactions towards it. Like it
What is that
helps them.
placebo? What is that placebo for them?
If they're ill,
Hmm.
uh, on giving what's it, mixing some placebo medicines in their food, some sugar pills or something, uh, they get better. How does it happen?
Do animals are given placebos? I don't have any idea.
I had read it somewhere.
I don't know. But if you observe many of the animals, those who are in the forests, or you talk about the dogs who are street dogs, they don't visit a vet when there is some problem in their body, especially in the stomach. They go and eat some kind of grass, if you have ever observed, and then they vomit. Probably they get cured also. But when you talk about the vet, that visiting a vet is only by the pets which we keep in our uh, houses. Their food habits change. They are not the same. They are not taking the same food that other animals are taking, who are roaming in the streets. They need extra attention. I'm not sure whether any vet provides placebo or not. My uncle is a veterinary doctor. I'll ask him if he has ever administered any placebo to animals or not while treating them. Uh, I can't give a satisfied answer to you whether weights are also so effect to a placebo.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Akash,
Yes, sir.
you have raised your hands. Do you want to ask any question?
Sorry, sorry. Sir, before answer, not now, sir.
Okay. whether parents uh, comforting the child when the child is having some kind of health issues. Does it work?
Yes, sir.
How does it work?
Sir, like sitting with the child and just comforting him by talking to him, like it just motivates him and makes him feel much better.
Right. Can we call it a placebo?
I think so. Yes, sir.
Yes, but it works,
Ah,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Leo,
Yes, sir. Hello, am I
yes,
audible?
yes, yes.
Sir, I wanted to ask you, do you think tribal healing or healing that is mostly done in secluded areas around our country,
Hmm.
do you think such tribal healing practices can be considered as placebo?
You might have gone through my what article on eclectic healing model,
Yes, sir.
right? Uh, we have not done enough research in this area, frankly speaking. Especially in India, we are not doing research into this. Gradually, I have started an initiative to understand the tribal healing practices, if it works or not. So far as some of the belief systems are concerned, uh, it is working. But in sometimes that is being misled by some group of people who try to harass the patient, or they have some other intention. But if you generally talk about tribal lifestyle is itself a healthy lifestyle. Through our modern interventions, or to when we say that you come to the mainstream, we are intervening too much in the process of development. We define what development is and ask them to be like us. So they are in a state of confusion. They remain confused for a long period of time whether to adapt to the new kind of culture, or to remain in their own culture. If you talk about this place, Raurkela, and the tribals living nearby Raurkela, uh, you'd find this trend among them. They are in a confused state. They are neither tribals nor urbans. And about their practices they follow, some of the practices are now not completely be called tribal culture. They are mixed up. But if you go to the interiors, where they have hardly uh, know people from a city, or come in contact with city people, you would find some of the very scientific methods they are adapting, they are following to keep themselves healthy. And some of their beliefs, I'm not saying all, some of their beliefs work to protect their health, but which help them remain healthy, we need to investigate more. So that's why I have kept my model open. Still, we do not know, we can't comment that it is working or it is not working. But let's see. whatever is working and it is giving benefits, why not adapt this? Only scientists and labs do not do science. Science is happening everywhere. We need to be open minded to understand where science is happening.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Akash.
Sir, I want to ask you that without placebo, can effect can occur, right? If I
Without
say
placebo?
something, sometimes it's happened that somebody pray to somebody. It's like they go to some monks say about that you will be happy, or sometimes it said that you can. Some people go there mystery. There he has cancer or something, and he said
Yeah.
that you will be okay. And there is some of example maybe had that they will become cure also. So it can be happen by also by talks, speech. I want to say about that. Is it
Well,
work?
yeah, yeah. Uh, Now, we need to study it systematically, whether this works or not, whether people say or it's just a kind of hype. We have not done any such kind of systematic study in this regard. Like when somebody feels ill or somebody is hospitalized, people pray for his or her recovery. Whether that prayer is uh, reaching to the person or the person gets healed. If the person is unconscious, does it affect, does it work on him or her? If the person can see those people who come and wish him get well soon or not, which kind of conditions do work for the person, that is more important. Many a times, if you have well wishers and truly well wishers, it is seen that they recover early. And in one of our classes, we have discussed about the social relationships. You know, social relationships are also a kind of placebo. If you have good social relationship, they help you heal quickly. So it depends what is the condition, what is the situation, and how systematically that phenomenon has been studied. So far, we do not have those kind of study very systematically done in our country, but outside they have studied the effects of prayer. But again, I'm not sure whether that's only prayer or there are also some medicine and surgeries are involved or not. We need to look into those research papers, how effective it was. Any other questions?
So I had a question.
No questions?